Hi, I'm Joel Birch from Firebird Learning and the Very Serious Business Co, and I'm calling in from Perth in Western Australia. So the thing that I've put together to show you is some of the work that I've been doing working with K-12 educators using LEGO Serious Play to help them embrace complexity and understand their job, understand their profession, and understand the networks that they work in from a systems thinking perspective, and so that they can run towards that complexity, find a playful way to sit within it, and use that to help create some better outcomes from their students, rather than simply kind of following, trusting their gut and running towards the simplest solution that they can. Because it is a really hard job. It is a grueling system to work in, with the ever mounting set of expectations and the ever decreasing amount of time and mental energy left to do anything with it. So I'm going to show you through some of that stuff. So my own professional background is I began my career in the primary school classroom, and spent a good 10 years there working with kids of every level. So I worked from junior primary up to kind of early high school. And within that role, I got the opportunity to step out and run some professional development for my colleagues, which led me to get into a professional development coordinator kind of role full-time, working with learning technologies. So from there, that led me into designing some programs to help schools design kind of that future of learning and future of work, working with school leaders as well as teachers. I'm now kind of running my own show, doing that kind of work as well. Also helping schools work with professional-based learning. I'll start that bit again. Helping schools with some professional development around project-based learning, informed by systems thinking and system dynamics. So the reason I started experimenting with LEGO Serious Play as a method to use in this space of exploring complexity and systems thinking in K-12 education is probably first and foremost that it is a really diverse job. So while everyone in the profession will begin their career in a classroom that all looks very, very similar, it is an incredibly diverse job. The kids that you work with don't come out of a cookie cutter. They've all got their individual minds, their individual rates of development, and their individual needs. The implications of that is that many education professionals devote their life's work and their real kind of core professional interest in their job to a particular area of interest within the profession, be that literacy or numeracy or special needs or social justice. In my case, it was learning technologies, and we're increasingly seeing a massive surge of people really embracing STEM as their way of working within the profession. And that becomes the lens through which they see the entire profession and they see all of the issues facing the profession. Which means that everyone's looking at the same set of things in the middle from their own space, from the outside of the circle. And that gets tricky. That gets tricky to have complex conversations. The other is that you have really, really diverse contexts. So every school is a different place, a vastly different place. But crucially, they're made up of more or less the same elements. So they'll have the same class structures and class breakdowns. There will be the same equipment in each classroom, and there will be the same broadly. There's massive disparity within that. But classrooms will be equipped similarly, and they will be numbered similarly, and everyone's working to the same curriculum, the same standards. A lot of those crucial fundamental building blocks are the same, which kind of begs the question, why are they all so different? They're different because it's not the pieces of the puzzle that make up a school, it's the way those pieces of the puzzle fit together. They're inherently complex places, so trying to simplify our way through them is only going to create more problems. So what I'm going to show you today is the flow of a workshop that I designed to start to approach these conversations and to kind of make it fun and make it something that really sparks teacher curiosity and school leader curiosity. So the one I'm going to show you was kind of my grand experiment in it before I turned it loose on individual schools. And what I did was I brought together teachers and school leaders from across sectors, so from public, private, and Catholic, because those are our three sectors in Australia. Across levels, so I had early childhood teachers, I had primary teachers, and I had secondary teachers. I had teachers and school leaders, and I even had some people from quite different contexts. So I had a representative from our hospital school system. I'm going to take you through the tools that I used to capture it. So at the time, it was just kind of the convenient way to grab everything that I'd made and share it on. But kind of in the midst of Joey Corona's world tour, they've actually become really, really crucial elements to the design. And lastly, I'm just going to show you a few of the insights that came out of it and just sort of show you how it really woke up the people around the table. So I'm going to jump out of this video and I'm going to go to share my screen and I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we put together. So here we are in my workshop design for the workshop that I ran on systems and complexity using LEGO Serious Play. My first job was obviously, and after we did our skills build, and we did this over pub lunch as well, so it was really nice and cruisy. My individual builds, I wanted to ask them about the influencing forces that contribute to their education system. I wanted them to look upstream of that, to look at the causes of those forces, and downstream to look at the effects. So I originally got them to build 3 models that all had a sequence to them. So my first question was, what influences how our education system works? And I got them to build an influencing factor or force. And I said that could take the form of the agents or actors in the system. It could take the form of the way things work by the organizational habits and the existing momentum. It could take the form of new emerging influences, or it could take the form of a pattern in the way that the elements in there work and exert influence. So in those trends. So the second build was what happens as a result of it. So I got them to think about the initial factor that came to mind, and then I wanted them to think about the effect. So I first got them to flow downstream. So to think about the impact, the flow-on effect, or the consequence of that first influencing factor behaving the way that it does in the system. Then I got them to sit back from those 2 models and look upstream. So I wanted them to just inquire and interrogate why that influencing force was a part of their system. So what the events or conditions were that put it there in the first place. So really, I kind of wanted them to have these 3 here. I got them to write a brief summary on a little card to go with each model so that as we began to move them around the table, we were able to keep track of them because it was quite a lot of models in one place. From there, I threw it to an open landscape where I got them to place those influencing forces into a landscape. I got them to move one at a time. And then last of all, I got them to add their connections to that and put them together. So next up, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to show you the set of tools that I use to collect them. So taking a little dive here into the 3 main tools that I've used to document and capture this systems mapping workshop. The real guts of it and the real backbone of it was this tool called Kumu, which is a complex adaptive systems mapping tool that allows you to import and add elements of a system and then build connections between them. So what's nice about it is that I can build straight into Kumu here, so I could add my elements, add my connections, add my loops, or I could import them from a spreadsheet, and that's what I've done here. So I've got a Google Sheet online, and that will literally update live every time I make a change in the spreadsheet, and then just refresh the page with Kumu in it. So in terms of documenting and building something quickly, this was a really effective way to do it. If I click, something I really like about Kumu here is I can click on any of those elements. If you hover on them, it will show you what each individual thing is connected to. I can then even move in on focus mode and look at just those ones, so I'm able to see the relationship between a few elements without being cluttered by the rest of the map. I will provide a link to this for you at some point so that you're able to zoom in and have a little bit of an explore for yourself. When it came to just capturing things on the day, because we did this at the pub over lunch, I wanted everything to be able to run just off people's phones. So I set up a good old Padlet page where I had the layout set as columns. So we could have one column for the skills build to give everyone some experience using the tool, then a column each for each of my individual builds. And that then fed my spreadsheet here, so I was able to, in my elements tab, I can put the label that went on the card, I could write that there, I could import the URL to the image itself that they've uploaded, and then that will fill into my map on Kumu. Then my connections tab is simply a matter of copying and pasting the names of those elements and going through my broad photos that I took with my big camera and mapping those out. And that is it for the tools. So there you have it. That's the broad overview of how I've worked with some K-12 educators to start to explore systems mapping and system dynamics within their profession. There is absolutely no reason why it wouldn't work with other professions. That's just where my background is. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with you in more detail at the summit. So until then, play well.